everybody, welcome back to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com and here on my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to do the last of our kind of three-part series here on the PreSonus StudioLive 32 SX, the DAW control portion of this series. I'm going to give you my likes and dislikes and let you know whether I recommend that you buy this mixer for DAW control purposes. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So if you did not see the other two videos where we unboxed the PreSonus StudioLive, and in that video, not only unboxed it, but told you what this whole series of videos was going to be about and all the things we're going to do in 2023 with the StudioLive. So there's a lot more content coming. And then we also did a video where I walked you through every single button on this StudioLive, every switch, every encoder, and showed you what it all did in DAW mode. Make sure you go watch those videos, okay? So click the link in the description box below. Also, if this is your first time here, go to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com because we're talking about mixing. We're talking about DAW control, right? I want to give you a free mixing course. It's right on the homepage. Click that big orange button. It's my gift to you just for visiting HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. And if you stick around till the end of the video, I'm going to give you something else for free. So here we are, likes and dislikes. What do I like about this mixer? What don't I like about this mixer as far as DAW mode is concerned? Okay, we want to make sure I keep reiterating that because from a recording perspective, it's fantastic. DAW mode, we'll get to it. So let me tell you about the things I like about the mixer first and foremost. The first thing, and I said this in the unboxing video, but I'll say it again here, it is built very, very well. Well-built mixer, built like a tank, high quality product. This comes at a price tag of about $4,000 US as I record this video. I think it was on sale for about $3,500 during Black Friday, but it's usually right around that $3,500 to $4,000 mark. And it feels like that. It's a well-built piece of equipment. Really, really nice. It's beautifully designed. It looks good. It looks high quality. It is high quality. The other thing that I really like about this, and again, in DAW mode, not so much, but in all around recording mode and just the way you use the mixer, it is very logically laid out and it is well laid out. Everything is pretty straightforward on what the buttons do and how to navigate around. I love the fat channel and the way that's laid out. That's pretty unique. I like it, especially in recording mode. It's great. In DAW mode, it's not as straightforward, and we'll talk about that in the dislike part of the video, but overall the mixer is well laid out. It's pretty logical, and it's built really well. So that's another thing that I like. The other thing that I think is a great point here, if you are looking again beyond just DAW control, but if you're looking for a centerpiece for your studio, kind of an all-in-one solution where you have a recording interface, plenty of inputs and outputs that for both the studio and for live. DAW control is another feature. What else? I mean, it does everything as far as that goes. I mean, it's an all-in-one unit. It looks really good. It could be the centerpiece of your studio. It does everything. It doesn't do everything amazingly, but it does everything well. And it's one box. You don't have to have a fader port controller or an SSL fader port for this, an audio interface for recording. You don't have to have 2 or 3 boxes. You can do everything from one unit, and I really, really like that. The other feature that I really like about this is it doesn't take up a ton of real estate on your desk. Compared to something like the Icon QCon Pro X that we did in 2022, for 24 faders, it took up a lot more real estate. This does not take up a lot of real estate. This is the width of actually my keyboard tray with my keyboard and my mouse. You know, you have a keyboard tray under my desk. That is the exact width of this mixer. It doesn't take up a ton of room, and from front to back, it's not very deep. It is pretty compact for everything that it does. So it won't take up a massive amount of real estate on your desk. So I think that is pretty cool. It's another feature that I like. And lastly, one of the really cool features that they added recently to the new firmware updates, and we talked about this in the last video, is interface mode. And interface mode allows you to easily hook up external hardware to the StudioLive for when you work in a more hybrid fashion. Say you want to put a master bus hardware EQ or compressor. Prior to interface mode, it was a hell of a workaround to make that happen with a StudioLive. It wasn't very intuitive. It really was kind of clunky, and it was the main reason When I sold my StudioLive 32 from 5 years ago, when it first came out with the new touchscreen, the Series 3, before DAW mode was even a thing, one of the reasons why I got rid of it at that time is I started incorporating hardware into my setup, and you could not easily integrate hardware into this mixer. Now you can with interface mode, and you can go check out my video that I did on interface mode. It's pretty intuitive, and that's a really big feature, I think, for a lot of people today, especially people that want to work hybrid. So that's a great feature. Go check out that video. So those are the things that I like about the mixer, okay? And those are more overall things. The interface mode is the only thing for really kind of mixing and DAW control that I really like. Now let's talk about the things that I don't like, or things that I think could be improved, again, from DAW control perspective only. The first thing on this particular version of the mixer, this is the 32SX, and we talked about this topic in the last video where I walked you through all the buttons and knobs and switches and faders, is that they also make a 32, I believe it's an S, the 64S. There's a couple other mixer versions of this mixer that look exactly the same with a couple of small changes. One of the huge changes is above the fat channel, above the encoders, they have a secondary set of LCD screens. So when you're in DAW mode and you're trying to work with plugins and control things, where a lot of these encoders and buttons do have a dual purpose, what they're labeled on the mixer itself is more for recording and for live use. And when you get to DAW mode, a lot of these things do different things. And on those other mixers where you have the secondary set of LCD screens, I'm told that those are labeled so you know what all these buttons and switches do. So that's something to consider. Before you buy one of these mixers, I highly suggest you go to PreSonus's website, and they have a table where they compare the mixers and tell you what the differences are. And some of them look almost identical with some subtleties. One of those subtleties is that second set of screens. So one of the things that I don't like about this particular version of the mixer is you don't know what a lot of these secondary buttons do. You can look it up in the manual, and then you have to remember or make your own little labels. And we went through that in the last video where I showed you all the dual purpose buttons and what they do. They're not clearly labeled on the front of the mixer for DAW mode, at least not in this version of the mixer. So that makes a lot of the DAW control, and especially the plugin control, very, very challenging at the very, very best. And that leads me into the second thing I don't like about this particular mixer for DAW control is the plugin control is so unbelievably clunky, and it is so non-intuitive. It's difficult at best to control plugins. That's something I absolutely would not really do. Now you can do it with, you know, their Pro EQ and stuff. You can control things like if I come over here to the kick drum track, oops, sorry about that. There we go, track 1. And if I come over to the touchscreen and I open the Pro EQ, you'll see it on the screen. I don't know where I'm going to put this so you can see it in editing. Maybe I'll kind of put it over here. And if I come over to the encoders, you can control some of the parameters. Those are pretty straightforward in the EQ section. And you can close the plugin with tapping the screen. I mean, it's a long reach, to be honest, but you can do it. Now, if I want to open up, let's say, the fat channel, and now I have the tube compressor on here, you don't really know what the buttons do. Again, the knobs, you have to say, okay, I got to figure, oh, that one's peak reduction. This one is gain. It works, but again, you got to remember what a lot of the buttons do. And for PreSonus plugins, it works okay. When you go to map third-party plugins, I didn't even do a video on that specifically like I was originally planning, because it is so completely clunky that to me, I wouldn't even bother. So for me, plugin control on this thing, it's not great. When you're not in DAW mode and you're using this as a live mixer and you pull the fat channel up on the touchscreen and you could touch the parameter and use the encoder and change things, works beautifully. We'll get to that in later videos. But in DAW mode, it's not a great plugin controller. It just isn't. Now, you can map third-party plugins to it, and you could try to figure out what all the knobs do. But then again, you got to remember what all the knobs do. Unless you have the version of the mixer which has those secondary set of screens, then it might be easier. But my guess is it is not going to be really any better or any more intuitive than any of the other controllers we looked at. That's not really the main purpose of this mixer, is not to be a plug-in controller. It will do plug-in control, but don't buy this if you think you're going to be able to control your plugins easily. You will not. It's clunky at best. But again, it's not the main focus of the design of this, but I just want to make you aware of that. The other thing that I don't like about this, again, this is probably the last thing that I don't like, is that, again, we're in the DAW here, and if I select the channels, you'll see it follows in the console in Studio One. Great, right? But in this particular session, I have 25 tracks. I only can visibly see on the screen 21 of those tracks. If I come over here and select number 23, let's say, the screen does not follow the mixer. I got to take my mouse and I have to scroll over to look at the track. And then I can see, oh yeah, track 23 is now highlighted, and I can move the fader. If I have a plugin, I can open it up and I can mess with my plugin or whatever I'm going to do. I hate that. I've said that in every DAW control video that we've done so far in the last 18 months, and all the different brands. The only company that's ever gotten this right is Softtube with their Console 1. If you have only 21 tracks visible on the screen and you hit track 26, that's Studio One advances. Why it doesn't do it with their own product is beyond me. I don't believe it did it with the Fader Port 16 either. Now, some people say, Dave, you always make a big deal about that. That's a really big pet peeve of mine. If I have to touch the mouse and the keyboard to do anything, when I touch something on the hardware, I want it to happen on the screen. To me, that is a more intuitive way to work. If I have to look at the screen at all, I want to be able to do that. For some people, that's not a big deal. For me, that's a big deal. I don't like that it doesn't do that. To me, that would be a simple thing to fix. I don't know why it doesn't do it. And maybe PreSonus will fix that. I hope they do. Or maybe I'm the only one that complains about that. I don't know. But that's the other thing I cannot stand about these controllers that don't do that. So anyhow, those are the things I dislike. The big question then becomes, from a DAW control perspective, would I recommend you buy this mixer for DAW control? No, not for DAW control. It's great for the faders. It's wonderful for the faders. It's really cool that you can use your aux sends to control send levels like I showed you in the last video. That's really cool. You can reprogram user buttons to do different tasks in Studio One, and you have to remember what those buttons do, or you have to put little labels on them. All of that's cool. But the main thing for me, especially when you're mixing and control, and I guess from a recording perspective, and we'll get into this in later videos, there's enough DAW control from a recording perspective, headphones, cues, and all of that. You can do all that from the hardware. It's probably really good. But from a mixing point of view, because the number one thing that you do in a DAW when you're mixing is opening and closing and tweaking plugins, plug-in control. You do that more than you move faders, more or less. You do that more than you control send levels, more or less. So because these products, and this one in particular, does not do really great with plug-in control, and if that's the number one thing you're doing in a DAW when you're mixing, then I wouldn't buy it just for that reason. For me personally, for that, if you're looking for a centerpiece, an all-in-one solution, and you're doing lots of recording, and you only need some basic rudimentary DAW control things, and you don't care about the plug-in control, then this is a fantastic option. Fantastic option, because it is a wonderful product. But for DAW control, for me, I wouldn't buy it because it's missing the plug-in control piece of it. There is no one who has made the perfect solution for plug-in control. At least I haven't seen one yet. Now, the closest ones that we've done is Softtube Console 1 and the UC1 by SSL, because those are plug-in controller specific things. But they're limited to the plugins in their particular plugin suites, and and third-party plugins can be mapped to them. But again, it's kind of clunky. It's not a great solution, but it's better. So if this had a plug-in controller integrated into it, and again, that's not the design or the purpose of this particular product, but if anyone at PreSonus is listening, not that it matters what I say, but if you had a plug-in controller or a channel strip controller similar to the console one, but something that even takes that to the next level in this mixer, and it did it well, so I didn't have to keep reaching for the mouse or the keyboard, that would be awesome. Then for DAW control, I'd say yes. And by the way, we got this shelf here at the top left-hand corner of this StudioLive with a bunch of dead space in it. You could, in this space right here, forget putting an iPad on there and controlling with an iPad. I wouldn't do that. I would build a nice, beautiful touchscreen in here, way better than the touchscreen that's here, because the touchscreen that's here is kind of but it works with the right amount of encoders, and make that portion of this thing a plug-in controller, a real one. Now you got something. But, you know, from a business point of view, they gotta make these things at a certain price point. You probably just added another $1,200 or $1,500 to the cost of this product if you went to do that, and there may not be a big enough demand for that. So that's what I like and dislike about this mixer. Again, if DAW control and mixing plug-in control is not your main focus, this is a wonderful piece of equipment, especially for an all-in-one solution. And as I said, you're going to like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so already, because we're going to have videos in 2023 where we show it in recording mode. This is where this thing really excels, in my opinion. Okay? So that's what I would think. That's what I say. Take it for what it's worth. Uncle Dave is just being honest with you. I love the mixer. I love the product. But for DAW control, So make sure you like, share, subscribe. Let me know below if you have a StudioLive 32 SX, or if you have another version of the StudioLive, maybe one of the ones that have the LCD screens above those second set of encoders above the fat channel. How does that help you with plug-in control? I'd love to know what you think, or what do you use for DAW control? Do you have a fader port, or do you have the SSL or the soft tube or any one of those? And if you're in the market for a surface control DAW controller, go back and check my archive. We've done all the major manufacturers. We've done 5 or 6 of them now, so you can see all the pros and cons of all of those. I want you to do that. Now, I want you to thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. As I said in the beginning, go to Home Recording Made Easy. Get that free mixing course. It's right on the home page. And when you take that free mixing course, if you like Uncle Dave's style of teaching and you want to take one of my full-on, full-featured training courses, and I have everything from mixing to mastering to recording to EQ compression, parallel compression, and a partridge in a pear tree. And if you're a Studio One user, I have a whole dedicated curriculum focused just on Studio One. Mixing, mastering, recording. Go check out homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I want to give you 25% discount coupon code. That coupon code is YouTube25. You put that in at checkout, it'll take 25% off any training course on my website. So until the next video that we take a look at some recording capabilities of the StudioLive, I've been Dave with homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Thank you so very much for watching me today, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.